The bread wouldn't break. Padre Pio tried again during Massachusetts. His hands pressed down. The host remained whole, unbroken. Then he felt it. A presence behind him at the altar, cold, waiting, his stigmata burn. He would learn this morning that some souls wait at the altar itself, desperate for the one thing that can save them. The September sun barely touched San Giovanni Rotondo that morning, 1958. The church was full, standing room only. People pressed against the walls waiting for Padre Pio's Mass. He moved slowly to the altar, each step an effort. The wounds in his feet never stopped bleeding. Every movement was pain, but this was his joy, to offer the sacrifice, to hold Christ in his hands. The Mass began. Everything seemed normal at first. The readings, the prayers, the congregation responding. But Pio felt something, a weight in the air, a presence he couldn't identify. He reached the consecration, lifted the host, spoke the words that would transform it into the body of Christ. His hands trembled, not from weakness, from something else. The host glowed in his hands, brighter than it should, warmer, almost burning. Then he tried to break it for distribution. It wouldn't break. He pressed harder. The host remained whole, solid, as if it had become stone in his hands. The congregation didn't notice. They waited patiently, heads bowed. But Pio knew, something was wrong, something was happening. He closed his eyes. Lord, what is this? A voice answered, not aloud, inside his mind, clear, urgent. Look behind you. Pio turned his head slightly, and saw him, a man standing in the shadows at the back of the sanctuary, young, perhaps 30, dressed in simple clothes, but wrong somehow, faded, translucent, not quite solid, a soul. The man's eyes met Pio's, desperate, pleading. His lips moved but no sound came. Then Pio understood, could read the words being formed. Please, one Massachusetts. That's all I need. One Mass offered for me, please. Pio turned back to the altar. His hands still held the unbreakable host. Who is he? He whispered. The interior voice came again. A soul who died in mortal sin, but repented at the last moment. A thief who stole from churches his whole life, including this one. But on his deathbed, he wept. He confessed to a priest. He was given absolution. But he died before any penance could be completed, before any restitution could be made. How long has he been waiting? 40 years. 40 years in purgatory, burning, suffering, reliving every theft, every sacrilege, every moment of his sin, and no one has offered a single Mass for him. No one knows he's there. No one remembers. He has watched you say Mass every day for years, hoping, praying, begging that you would offer just one for him. Pio's heart broke. Why didn't he ask before? He tried, but you couldn't hear him. Not until today. Not until his suffering reached the point where heaven allowed this moment, this intervention, this one chance. The host in Pio's hands suddenly broke, easily, cleanly, as if it had never resisted. Pio understood. He continued the Massachusetts, but now with different intention. He offered it, all of it, for the soul standing in the shadows, for the unnamed thief who had stolen from this very church, who had sinned against God in this sacred space, but who had repented, who had turned back at the final moment. As he distributed communion, he could feel it, the weight lifting, the air clearing, the presence changing from desperation to something else. Hope, relief, joy. After the final blessing, the congregation filed out. Pio remained at the altar, waiting. The church emptied, only he remained, and the soul in the shadows. The man stepped forward now, into the light, his form more solid, more real, color returning to his face. Thank you, he said, his voice clear now, audible. 40 years I've waited, 40 years I've suffered, burned, relived every sin, every theft, every moment of pride and greed, and today, because of one Massachusetts, because you offered it for me, I'm free. Pio approached him slowly. What was your name? Antonio. Antonio Russo. I died in this town in 1918, the Spanish flu, but before the fever took me, a priest came. I confessed everything, every church I'd stolen from, every chalice I'd melted down, every sacred object I'd sold. He gave me absolution, told me to make restitution, but I died that night, before I could do anything. He paused, tears streaming down his translucent face. I went to purgatory, not hell, because of that confession, because of that absolution, because of God's mercy. But the suffering, Father, the suffering was worse than any physical death. To burn with the knowledge of what I'd done, to feel the weight of every sacrilege, to see what I'd stolen from God and his people, over and over, without end. Why did no one pray for you? I had no family, no friends. The few who knew me thought I'd died in my sins, thought I was damned. They didn't pray for the damned. They forgot me, and I waited, suffered. Oh, Pio reached out, his wounded hand almost touching the soul's shoulder. You're free now, because of one Massachusetts. One offering, one prayer made with intention and love. That's all it took. 40 years of suffering, ended by one Massachusetts. Antonio's form began to glow, brighter, more brilliant. Light surrounded him, lifted him. Tell them, he said as he rose. Tell the living. Tell them one Mass can save a soul. One offering can free someone from decades of suffering. Tell them not to underestimate the power they hold. The power to help, to heal, to rescue. And then he was gone, rising into light, into joy, into the heaven he'd been kept from for 40 years. Pio stood alone in the empty church, weeping, his stigmata bleeding freely now, but his heart full, grateful, amazed at what he'd witnessed. Brother Francesco found him an hour later, still standing at the altar, still weeping. Father, what happened? Everyone's talking. They said something was different about Mass today, that they felt something. Pio turned to him. I offered the Mass for a soul who'd been waiting 40 years. And today he was free. He told Francesco everything. The unbreakable host, the soul in shadows, the story of Antonio, the 40 years of waiting. Francesco listened in silence, then asked, what do we do with this? We tell people, we make them understand. One Mass can change eternity for someone. One offering, one intention. It's not just ritual, it's rescue, it's mercy in action. From that day forward, Padre Pio spoke about this constantly. In the confessional, in conversations, in every opportunity. Offer Masses for the dead, he'd say, especially for those who have no one, those who wait, those who suffer. One Mass might be all they need. One offering might free them from years of purging. He told people that the Mass was the most powerful prayer on earth, not because of human action, but because it was Christ's own sacrifice, made present again, offered again, applied to souls who desperately needed it. When you have a Mass said for someone, he explained, you're not just remembering them, you're bringing Christ's infinite mercy to bear on their suffering. You're applying the cross, the resurrection, the entire Paschal mystery, to one soul. That's power beyond measure. People started requesting Masses, or parents, or grandparents, or friends, or strangers, or forgotten souls. The requests piled up. Pio said yes to all of them, would often say multiple Masses in one day, each one offered with specific intention, each one directed to a waiting soul. But what he taught next changed how people understood intercession completely. One woman came to him confused. Father, I had a Mass said for my mother, but I still feel she's suffering. How do I know it helped? Pio looked at her gently. The Mass always helps. Always. But understand this. One Mass might not free someone immediately, might not end their suffering completely. It depends on their sins, their attachments, their need for purification. He explained it this way. Imagine your mother owed a debt, a huge debt. One Mass is like making a payment on that debt. It reduces what's owed, eases the burden, but more might be needed. That's why we keep praying, keep offering, keep loving them even after death. The woman nodded. So I should have more Masses said. Yes. And pray yourself, and offer your sufferings, and live well, and receive communion with intention for her. All of it helps. All of it reaches her. All of it makes a difference. This teaching spread. People began to understand. The dead weren't beyond help, weren't beyond reach. They needed the living, needed prayers, needed Masses, needed love that didn't end at the grave. Padre Pio spoke about the mysterious mathematics of mercy. How one Mass might equal years of suffering removed. How prayers combined with Masses multiplied the effect. How living a holy life in honor of the dead brought them relief. The living and the dead are connected, he'd say. We're one family, one body. What we do affects them. What we offer helps them. We're not separate. We're together in Christ. There was a man who came to him once. Wealthy, successful, but haunted. Father, my brother died 20 years ago. We hadn't spoken in 15 years. He died angry at me, in sin. I don't know if he repented. I'm afraid he's damned. Pio shook his head. You don't know that. You can't know that. Only God knows. But I'll tell you what you can do. Have Masses said for him. Many Masses. Pray for him. Offer sacrifices. Do good works in his name. If he's in purgatory, this will help him greatly. If he's in heaven, it will add to his glory. If he's in hell, God will apply your prayers to someone else who needs them. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. The man's face lit up. So I can still help him. Yes. The grave doesn't end love. Death doesn't stop family. You can help him now more than you could when he was alive, because now he can't help himself. He depends entirely on your prayers, your masses, your love. The man left weeping, but no longer from despair, from hope. Pio told stories of souls he'd seen free, souls who'd appeared to thank him, souls who'd been released after decades because someone finally had a mass offered for them. I've seen souls rise like sparks, he'd say, the moment the mass is offered for them with true intention. I've seen light descend, I've seen chains break, I've seen suffering end, all because someone on earth remembered, prayed, offered a Massachusetts. He emphasized that it didn't matter how long someone had been dead. Time worked differently in purgatory. A mass offered today could reach someone who died 100 years ago, could free them, could bring them home. Never think it's too late, he'd insist. It's never too late to pray for the dead. Never too late to offer a Massachusetts. Never too late to love them. One of the most powerful stories he told was about a soldier, a young man who died in World War I, died far from home, buried in an unmarked grave. His family never knew what happened to him, never knew where he was, never knew if he'd received last rites. 40 years later, his elderly sister came to Padre Pio. I still don't know what happened to my brother, but I want to help him. Can I? Pio had masses said for him, prayed for him, asked others to pray. 2 weeks later, the sister had a dream. Her brother appeared, young again, joyful, free. The masses freed me, he told her. I've been waiting since I died, but the masses you had said, they broke through, they reached me, they brought me home. Thank you. She woke weeping, told Pio. He smiled. You see, it's never too late, never impossible. One Massachusetts, a few prayers. That's all it took. Toward the end of his life, Pio's passion for having masses said for the dead only grew stronger. Despite his pain, despite his exhaustion, he would say mass after Massachusetts, each one for a different intention, each one for a waiting soul. The friars worried he was pushing too hard. Father, you need rest. You're exhausted. He'd shake his head. How can I rest when souls are waiting? When one more mass might free someone? When one more offering might end decades of suffering? His final months were spent largely at the altar, saying Massachusetts, offering the sacrifice, directing Christ's mercy to the forgotten, the suffering, the waiting. In his last days, when he could barely stand, they brought the altar to him. He said mass from his bed, whispered the words, made the offering, directed the grace. For them, he'd whisper, for all who wait, for all who suffer, for all who need this mercy. When Padre Pio finally died, those present reported something extraordinary. As his soul left his body, they felt presences in the room. Many presences, joyful, grateful, singing. Some claimed to see them. Souls, countless souls, come to escort home the priest who'd remembered them, who'd offered masses for them, who'd brought them Christ's mercy when no one else would. Antonio was there, the thief freed by one Massachusetts, along with thousands of others, all freed by Pio's prayers, by the masses he'd offered, by the love he'd shown the dead. Because that's how it works. The souls we help become our helpers. The masses we offer become masses offered for us. The mercy we show becomes mercy shown to us. And somewhere in purgatory today, souls still wait, still suffer, still hope, still pray that someone on earth will remember them, will have a mass said for them, will bring them the mercy they desperately need. One mass from you today might free someone who's waited 50 years. That's the power the living hold. That's the gift the Church gives us. That's the opportunity before us. To offer masses for the dead, to remember the forgotten, to rescue the suffering, one mass at a time, one soul at a time, until all are home.